I walked into the doctor's office with my cow, and everyone laughed, telling me to leave. They said that place wasn't for animals or people like me. But when I started signing checks, panic spread through the reception. Subscribe to our channel now and discover how a simple farmer revealed a truth that nobody expected and silenced everyone with just a pen. The St. Camillus Clinic was the pride of Riverdale Meadows, a small town in upstate New York known for its prosperous farms and wheat-growing tradition. The three-story building, with its modern facade and immaculate gardens, contrasted with the colonial constructions around the central square. There, Dr. Eugene Montgomery, at 65, ran what many considered the best geriatric clinic in the state, serving both the local elite and patients who came from neighboring towns. Mrs. Zelda, a 78-year-old lady waiting for her quarterly checkup, was the first to notice. Seated in one of the leather armchairs in the reception area, with her rosewood cane resting beside her, she adjusted her gold-rimmed glasses and blinked twice to make sure she wasn't hallucinating. "Good heavens! Am I losing my marbles?" she muttered to herself while watching the glass door open. A tall man of imposing stature calmly entered the premises. His weathered straw hat and muddy boots betrayed his rural origins, while his faded plaid shirt and worn jeans contrasted with the sophisticated environment of the clinic. But it wasn't his appearance that caused the immediate silence in the reception area. It was his companion. A cow, a black and white spotted cow, apparently calm, being led by a rope as if it were a dog on a Sunday stroll. Lucy, the clinic's senior receptionist, almost dropped the coffee cup she was holding. Sarah, the administrative manager, froze with the phone halfway to her ear. The other patients were dumbfounded. You can't come in here with that animal," Lucy finally managed to say, approaching hesitantly. "This is a medical clinic, not a veterinary office." The man remained unruffled. With the serenity of someone who already expected such a reaction, he simply removed an envelope from inside his shirt pocket and handed it to the receptionist. "My name is Sebastian Howard. I have an appointment with Dr. Montgomery, and Mimosa is with me. She's part of the consultation." The man's deep, measured voice had a tone that brooked no argument, despite his apparent calm. While Lucy examined the envelope with a gold seal and an elegant signature in blue ink, Sebastian guided the cow to the waiting room and sat down calmly in one of the armchairs. As if following an invisible command, the animal lay down at his feet, patient and well-behaved. "What kind of absurdity is this?" whispered an elegant lady to her husband. "Is this some kind of TV prank show?" Sarah, recovering from the initial shock, approached Lucy and examined the envelope. Her eyes widened as she recognized the seal and signature. "Call Dr. Montgomery, now," she ordered in a low voice. In the moments that followed, the waiting room became the stage for restrained murmuring. Cell phones were discreetly pointed in the direction of the strange visitor and his unusual companion. Sebastian, however, seemed oblivious to the commotion he was causing. He simply leafed through a health magazine, occasionally stroking the animal's muzzle. Dr. Montgomery didn't take long to appear. Tall, with graying hair and aristocratic posture, he was known for his discretion and professionalism. Upon seeing the envelope in Sarah's hands, his expression changed completely. For a brief moment, the doctor seemed to lose his composure, something never before witnessed by his staff in 15 years at the clinic. "Mr. Howard," he said, extending his hand with unusual deference, "please follow me to my office, and Mimosa too, naturally." The staff exchanged perplexed looks. They had never seen Dr. Montgomery, always so strict with sanitary regulations, allow something so absurd. What was in that envelope? "But doctor, the health department regulations—" Sarah tried to argue, being immediately interrupted. "Everything is under control," stated the doctor, with a look that ended any discussion. "Please cancel my next appointments, and no one is to interrupt us." As Sebastian and Mimosa followed Dr. Montgomery down the hallway, the sound of the cow's hooves echoed on the clinic's porcelain tile floor. The other doctors and nurses stopped in astonishment at the surreal scene. Behind the scenes at reception, curiosity overcame professionalism. Lucy quickly typed Sebastian Howard's name into the system. "This can't be right," she murmured to Sarah, who was looking over her shoulder. The screen displayed a profile with VIP access and a peculiar annotation. Unrestricted access to all procedures. Unconventional companions allowed as per Special Clause 7B of Internal Regulations. What clause is that? I've never heard of it, questioned Sarah, furrowing her brow. At that exact moment, the phone rang. It was from the Financial Directorate. Sarah, we just received a system alert. Someone is consulting Mr. Howard's profile. Please stop immediately. This access is restricted and monitored directly by the hospital's executive committee. The manager gulped and signaled for Lucy to close the screen. She had barely hung up the phone when she received a notification that an extraordinary meeting of the board of directors had been called for an hour later. The buzz about the man who entered the St. Camilla's clinic with a cow spread through Riverdale Meadows with the speed of a wildfire in August. The video recorded by Mrs. Zelda, who despite her age was an expert in social media, went viral in a matter of hours. In bakeries, pharmacies, and especially at Jack's coffee shop, the town's meeting point, it was all anyone talked about. They say he's a billionaire farmer who sued a multinational corporation and won a fortune, commented Mr. Jack, the owner, of the general store while serving morning coffee to customers. Nonsense. My niece works at the clinic and told me he's from the government. Some kind of secret program, countered Mrs. Clara, the region's most well-informed hairdresser. Meanwhile, in Dr. Montgomery's office, something was happening that would forever change the course of the clinic. After almost 40 minutes of conversation behind closed doors, Sebastian Howard and his cow Mimosa left the room with the same tranquility with which they had entered. The farmer walked to the reception, took from his pocket a checkbook visibly worn by time, and with a pen he took from his other pocket, methodically filled out several checks. For Miss Lucy, he said, handing the first check to the astonished receptionist. For Mrs. Sarah, for the security guard, for the cleaning lady. One by one, all the staff present received a check, including Mrs. Zelda, who protested, saying she was just a patient. You were the first to see me. You deserve as much as the others, replied Sebastian with a discreet smile. No one dared to look at the value of the checks at that moment. Only when Sebastian had already left, leading Mimosa through the town's central square, did the first curious glances confirm the unthinkable. They were 5-digit amounts for each person. I appreciate everyone's kindness. You will hear from me soon, were his last words before disappearing among the gardens of the square, leaving behind a clinic in a state of shock. Dr. Montgomery locked himself in his office for the rest of the day. His secretary, Teresa, swore. She heard him crying at one point, something completely out of character for the always controlled doctor. The next morning, an emergency meeting gathered all employees. Theories about the mysterious Sebastian Howard multiplied. A new nurse revealed that, during the consultation, she had taken blood collection equipment to Dr. Montgomery's office, not for the man, but for the cow. And the strangest thing is that the doctor asked me to bring the portable ultrasound equipment too. I think he examined the animal right there in his office. At the end of the meeting, Dr. Montgomery finally appeared. His expression was different, a mixture of exhaustion and contained euphoria. From today on, our clinic will undergo significant changes, he announced. We will receive funding to create a new research department. I cannot go into details, but everyone will benefit. He then handed each employee a confidentiality agreement. Anyone who mentioned Sebastian Howard's visit and his cow to outsiders would be immediately terminated. The agreement caused discomfort, but the checks received the previous day served as sufficient incentive for everyone to sign without protest. Meanwhile, Paul Henry, a young reporter from the Riverdale Chronicle, was desperately trying to discover more about the man who had become a sensation on social networks. His attempts to interview clinic staff hit a wall of silence, but his journalistic instinct led him to an interesting discovery. There was no record of any Sebastian Howard in the region's official systems. It's as if he doesn't exist, he commented to Mary Goodwin, his editor-in-chief. No social security number, no property, no record in county offices or commercial registry. Keep investigating, ordered Mary. We have a week until the monthly edition closes. If we confirm this story, it could be our cover story. At the TU, St. Camilla's Clinic, changes began to appear quickly. An entire floor was isolated for renovations. Sophisticated equipment arrived daily in unmarked trucks. And the most curious thing, Clause 7B of the internal regulations which Sarah had found in the system simply disappeared from the files. Lucy, who had worked at the clinic for more than a decade, had never seen anything like it. Her curiosity led her to do something potentially risky. She entered the scheduling system using Dr. Montgomery's password, which she knew for practical day-to-day needs. What she found left her even more confused. There were dozens of appointments scheduled with code names, all followed by the acronym PM, the same initials as Project Mimosa, as she deduced. At that exact moment, she sensed a presence behind her. It was Teresa, Dr. Montgomery's personal secretary. "The doctor wants to speak with you," said Teresa, with a grave tone that made Lucy tremble. As she was led to the doctor's office, Lucy was certain she would be fired. To her surprise, Dr. Montgomery greeted her with a tired smile. "Lucy, you are the person who has been with me the longest at this clinic. I need your absolute discretion for something very important." The doctor opened a drawer and took out a new envelope, identical to the one Sebastian Howard had presented days earlier. "You will personally take this to Gentek Laboratory in New York City. Don't trust anyone else. Inside this envelope is something that could change the future of medicine in America and the world." Lucy took the envelope with trembling hands. "Doctor, what's going on? Who is Sebastian Howard really, and what's so special about that cow?" Dr. Montgomery looked out the window, contemplating the clinic's gardens. For a moment, he seemed to hesitate. When he finally spoke, his voice was choked with emotion. "Sebastian was my patient many years ago, when I still worked at the university hospital. The diagnosis I gave him changed his life forever, and now he has returned to change mine." Lucy's journey to New York City was filled with apprehension. The sealed envelope seemed to weigh more than normal in her purse, as if it carried not just paper, but the fate of many lives. Throughout the bus ride, she observed the gradually changing landscape, the verdant fields of Riverdale Meadows giving way to suburbs, and finally to the imposing skyscrapers of the big city. "What am I doing?" she murmured to herself as the bus cut through Fifth Avenue. She had never been involved in something so mysterious. In 20 years as a receptionist, her biggest concern had always been organizing schedules and calming anxious patients. The Gentek laboratory occupied an imposing glass and steel building in the business district. At the entrance, a stylized logo of a DNA double helix slowly rotated above a digital panel. Lucy took a deep breath before passing through the automatic doors, feeling completely out of place in her simple dress and comfortable shoes amidst executives and scientists in impeccable lab coats. "I have an envelope to deliver to Dr. Helen Vanderbilt," she said to the receptionist, a young woman with Asian features and impeccable posture. The effect was immediate. A look of recognition passed over the receptionist's face, who immediately picked up the phone. "The messenger from Riverdale Meadows has just arrived," she announced in a low voice. With her envelope in hand, Lucy was received as if she were an authority. No questions, no inquiries, just respect and deference. A security guard in a dark suit appeared to escort her through a series of doors with biometric control. "Dr. Helen is waiting," informed the receptionist, leading her through corridors filled with cutting-edge technology. Through glass walls, Lucy glimpsed laboratories where scientists manipulated sophisticated equipment, powerful microscopes, and screens displaying rotating molecular structures. Helen Vanderbilt, Gentek's scientific director, was a middle-aged woman with short grey hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see through people. Tall and thin, her presence commanded immediate respect. She wore a grey tailored suit under an immaculate white lab coat with her name embroidered in blue. Upon receiving the envelope from Lucy's hands, her face transformed. Professional seriousness gave way to something Lucy didn't expect to see: vulnerability, hope, almost a youthful emotion. "Finally," she exclaimed, breaking her composure. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the envelope. So many years. Sebastian really did it. She raised her eyes to Lucy, who remained silent, aware that she was witnessing something important without fully understanding what it was. "Do you know what you're carrying?" asked Helen. "No, ma'am. Dr. Montgomery just asked me to deliver it personally." Helen nodded thoughtfully. "Please wait here. I have something for you to take back." While waiting in the luxurious office, Lucy noticed the photos on the wall. Helen alongside renowned scientists, receiving international awards at medical congresses. In one of them, surprisingly, was Dr. Montgomery, much younger, with dark hair and a confident smile she had never seen on her boss. And beside him, almost unrecognizable without the straw hat and farmer's clothes, Sebastian Howard. The photo seemed to have been taken in a university laboratory. The three wore white lab coats and smiled at the camera, holding a golden trophy. In the background, a banner with the words, "National Biotechnology Award, 2003. "It was a different time," said Helen, returning to the room with a sealed package. "We were young, ambitious, wanted to change the world." "You knew each other? Was Mr. Howard a doctor?" asked Lucy, unable to contain her curiosity. "Scientist. The most brilliant I've ever known," replied Helen, handing her the package. "This must go back to Dr. Montgomery immediately. It's the answer he's waiting for." As Lucy headed for the door, Helen added, "Tell Eugene I'm on my way, and that I never lost hope." Back in Riverdale Meadows, after 4 hours of travel, Lucy found the clinic undergoing an even more accelerated transformation. Moving trucks were unloading sophisticated equipment. Technicians were installing new security systems. The floor that was under renovation now displayed a gleaming sign. Advanced Research Center for Biotherapy, Project Mimosa. Security guards rigorously controlled access. At reception, Sarah looked exhausted. "Thank God you're back. Dr. Montgomery has been asking about you every 5 minutes." Dr. Montgomery received Lucy in his office, now filled with scattered papers and empty coffee cups, an atypical disorganization for the always methodical doctor. As she handed over the sealed package that Helen had entrusted to her, Lucy finally gathered courage. "Doctor, I saw the photo. You, Dr. Helen, and Sebastian Howard all together many years ago. Please tell me what's going on. After everything I've seen, I think I deserve to know." Dr. Montgomery observed her for long seconds, as if evaluating something beyond words. Finally, he indicated a chair. "Sit down, Lucy. You're right. You deserve to know." He stood up, walked to the window, and contemplated the movement of the clinic below. After a deep sigh, he began, 20 years ago, Sebastian Howard wasn't the man you met. He was a brilliant molecular scientist, a bioengineering genius. We worked together on revolutionary research about regenerative proteins at the university hospital. Helen was our colleague, a specialist in advanced genetics. Doctor. Montgomery returned to the desk and opened a drawer, removing an old photo album. He showed Lucy images of a university laboratory where the three worked side by side. "We were about to announce a discovery that would change medicine forever, a protein capable of regenerating damaged tissues at a speed never before seen. It was the kind of research that wins a Nobel Prize." The doctor's voice faltered, but then during a routine examination, I discovered that Sebastian had a rare degenerative disease, scleroderma at an aggressive stage. The diagnosis gave him less than a year to live. Dr. Montgomery closed his eyes for a moment, reliving the pain of that moment. Sebastian simply disappeared, abandoned everything, his career, the research, the city. He sold his patents, bought an isolated farm, and vanished from the map. Helen and I went our separate ways, she to the pharmaceutical industry, I to this clinic. We thought he had left us. "And the cow?" asked Lucy, trying to understand the connection. Sebastian didn't give up on the research. He couldn't. It was his only hope. Alone on his farm, he continued experimenting. Mimosa isn't an ordinary cow. Dr. Montgomery opened the package Lucy had brought, revealing analysis reports and complex graphs. She was genetically modified to produce in her milk the protein we were studying, RGNT7. Lucy tried to process the information. So you're saying that cow produces medicine? More than that. It produces something that can change the course of modern medicine. Sebastian achieved what we believed to be impossible. That same day, the Riverdale Chronicle published a special edition. Paul Henry, after weeks of investigation, had managed to piece together parts of the puzzle. The headline read, "Mysterious visitor may be behind medical revolution." The article speculated about a possible cure for degenerative diseases being developed at the St. Camilla's Clinic. The clinic's phones wouldn't stop ringing. Relatives of patients with serious conditions begged for information. The national press began to arrive in the small town of Riverdale Meadows. Amid the growing chaos, a helicopter landed on the town's football field. Sebastian Howard descended from it, this time without Mimosa, but accompanied by Helen Vanderbilt and two men in suits who turned out to be from the Department of Health. In the clinic's improvised conference room, Sebastian finally told his complete story to a select group that included Dr. Montgomery, Lucy, the town's mayor, and government representatives. "When I received my diagnosis," he began with a serene voice, "I didn't accept my fate. I used my knowledge and my savings to continue our research in secret. I bought an isolated farm, set up a rudimentary laboratory, and began working with cattle." Sebastian projected images on a screen, showing the evolution of his work. Mimosa is the fifth generation of a genetic improvement program that I developed alone. Through advanced genetic editing techniques, I managed to introduce the coding sequence for the RGNT7 protein into the DNA of the animal's mammary glands, so that her milk contains therapeutic concentrations of the protein. Helen complimented, with evident scientific excitement, "The tests we conducted on the samples sent are extraordinary. The protein has demonstrated unprecedented tissue regeneration capability. We're talking about a revolution in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases, spinal cord injuries, even control of cellular aging." One of the Department of Health representatives intervened. "Why keep this secret for so long? Thousands of patients could have benefited." The deepest mystery came to light when Sebastian looked directly at Dr. Montgomery. "I needed absolute certainty. I couldn't risk giving false hope. I treated myself with Mimosa's milk for years. The disease you diagnosed, Eugene, not only stopped progressing, it regressed completely. I've been cured for 15 years. The revelation provoked gasps of astonishment. Dr. Montgomery, with tears in his eyes, stood up and embraced his old colleague. For a moment, all formalities were forgotten as the two men shared an emotion that transcended words. Why all this? Mystery? The cow in the clinic, the checks? Why not reveal the discovery immediately? Questioned the mayor, still trying to process the magnitude of what he was hearing. Sebastian smiled serenely. We needed total control. If we announced prematurely, pharmaceutical corporations would try to appropriate the research. I've seen it happen before. We created this unusual scenario of the visit with the cow to establish a public landmark, documented by dozens of witnesses, a protection against future attempts to steal intellectual property. Helen nodded, adding, and we needed to ensure that the protein in Mimosa's milk was identical to our original formula. The tests confirmed it's exactly the same molecular structure we developed 20 years ago, perfected by nature. The following months completely transformed Riverdale Meadows. The St. Camilla's Clinic became the epicenter of a medical revolution. With funding from the federal government and international foundations, a first-rate research center was built, bringing scientists from around the world. Sebastian, Helen, and Dr. Montgomery led the clinical studies of the RGNT7 protein, now patented in the name of a non-profit foundation created by the three. Lucy was promoted to administrative coordinator of the project, receiving specialized training for the new role. Paul Henry won a journalism award for exclusive coverage of the story, and Mrs. Zelda, who had recorded the historic video of Mimosa's entrance into the clinic, became a local celebrity, regularly invited to give interviews about the day that changed Riverdale Meadows. 1 year after the visit that changed everything, The small town celebrated the emergency approval of mimosa therapy for severe cases of degenerative diseases. An experimental treatment hospital was inaugurated, receiving patients from across the country and even from abroad. The first treated patients showed surprising results, sharing their testimonials in an emotional ceremony in the town center. On the new laboratory farm on the outskirts of town, where a herd of genetically modified cows produced the miraculous protein, Sebastian personally cared for Mimosa, now elderly but still healthy. On a tranquil afternoon, he received a visit from Dr. Montgomery and Lucy. "You knew it would work from the beginning, didn't you?" asked the doctor, observing the sunset over the verdant pastures. "I had hope," replied Sebastian, stroking the cow's spotted coat, "but I needed you. Alone I could save myself. Together we can save millions." Lucy, who now understood the magnitude of what she had witnessed, asked curiously, "And the checks you distributed that day, why did you do that?" Sebastian smiled, looking toward the horizon where the town lights were beginning to turn on. "I wanted everyone to feel part of this from the beginning. When someone has a personal interest in the success of something, they work harder to achieve it. Besides," he added with a twinkle in his eyes, "I wanted to make sure the video of our arrival went viral. And it worked, didn't it?" Dr. Montgomery laughed, shaking his head. "You were always a strategic genius, even when you seemed to be acting eccentrically." That night, as Riverdale Meadows lit up on the horizon, three friends gathered to contemplate how a simple, unusual visit had triggered a transformation that transcended borders. "You know what impresses me most?" commented Lucy, observing the special herd grazing peacefully under the moonlight. "How something so extraordinary came from such a common place: a cow, a farm, a man in a straw hat. The greatest revolutions often begin in the most unlikely places," replied Sebastian, "and with the simplest motivations. In my case, I just wanted to stay alive." The medical revolution that began with a farmer and his cow now spread across the country and the world, bringing hope to those who before had only resignation. And it all started because a man decided not to accept a final diagnosis, transforming his personal struggle into a gift for humanity. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Sebastian Howard, Dr. Montgomery, Lucy, and the extraordinary cow, Mimosa, has touched your hearts. This narrative reminds us that even in the most challenging moments when everything seems lost, persistence and hope can transform not only our lives, but the entire world. Sometimes the greatest revolutions begin with the most unusual gestures and the most unlikely hopes. A simple receptionist at a small-town clinic, a dedicated doctor, a brilliant scientist, and a determined farmer. Ordinary characters who, together, accomplished something extraordinary. To continue this emotional journey, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories about people who defied the impossible and rewrote their destinies. Find it here by clicking the button on the left of your screen. If this story about overcoming mystery and hope touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Every day we bring unique narratives that explore the American spirit in its most diverse manifestations, from the heartland to the great metropolises, from ancestral traditions to futuristic innovations. What did you think of the outcome? Do you believe medicine can really achieve such revolutionary advances in the coming decades? How would you react if you encountered someone entering a doctor's office with a cow? Share your thoughts in the comments. Until our next story, where once again the extraordinary will reveal itself in the seemingly ordinary, and where the impossible will give way to what if.